Current gamers are spoiled. Back in my day, and I can't believe I just said that, getting the newest game wasn't just a matter of clicking a few buttons. Instead, you had to drag your parents to Toys R Us and beg, plead, or whine until they gave in and got you a physical copy of the game. That led to some strange business dynamics that created rarity in the video game market that we wouldn't even think of today. So, let's take a look at 7 of the rarest video games in the world. So, these days, we expect games to be customizable. Your character, name, and stats should be bendable to fit your whims. But that wasn't always the case. In fact, there was a time when the idea of a game being able to be customized to your needs was a pretty new and cool concept. And that led to the creation of Birthday Mania, an Atari game. Now, to be clear, this was not an official Atari licensed game. Instead, it was made by Robert Tokar, an Atari enthusiast who loved the Atari so much that he taught himself how to program for the system. He advertised the game in a New Jersey newspaper, the Newark Star-Ledger. Individuals could give Tokar an order by sending him a check with someone's name and birthday. From there, players would be able to get a customized game. Within the game, players could pop balloons and blow out candles. Before his death in February 2023, Tokar estimated that Birthday Mania sold between 10 and 15 copies. An effort to sell an original copy of the game in 2009 hit $6,500 as a highest offer, but that didn't sell. The game's code was dumped in 2019 and put into an emulator, which you can see here. Now, unless you are my age, 40, you probably don't remember the original esports. That was the Nintendo World Championships. This was a nationwide tournament started in 1990 and then existing in different forms for the next 3 decades that sought to crown players as world leaders of various games. The 1990 World Championships were the first ever held. The championships were held in 29 cities, with winners in each city earning $250 and a shot at the World Championship. To win, gamers had to get a high score in a customized version of Rad Racer, Super Mario Bros., and Tetris. Winners also won a gray Nintendo cartridge. At the same time, Nintendo Power, the official magazine of Nintendo, held a separate contest. Winners there received an even more limited gold cartridge. There are gray and gold versions of the 1990 Nintendo World Championship game, neither of which comes with any packaging or instruction manuals. These games contained customized programming that was used for the 1990 World Championship. It is believed there are only 26 copies of the gold version and another 96 of the gray one. Copies for each game sell between $15,000 and $25,000. Next, does anybody remember the Power Pad? It was one of the first Nintendo peripherals released and allowed you to play as an athlete or a dancer by mashing your feet on the appropriate input on the pad. Or if you were me and probably every other kid, you just got on all fours and kind of whacked at the buttons. Anyway, a few games were released for the system. The rarest of these is Stadium Events. If this game looks familiar, there's a good reason for this, as you may know the game as World-Class Track Meet. So, Stadium Events was actually part of an early fitness effort from Nintendo. It allowed players to participate in 4 track events: the 100-meter dash, triple jump, long jump, and 110-meter hurdles. So, why is this game so rare? Well, the rebranding. According to one report, only 2,000 copies of Stadium Events were ever produced, and only 200 of those were ever sold in retail stores. When the game was rebranded as World-Class Track Meet, all copies of Stadium Events were removed from circulation. That made this game a rarity. Copies of the game can be bought, if you can find one, for at least 5 figures. One copy of the game sold in February 2010 for $13,105. However, a 2018 video reported that the game was worth as much as $30,000. Next, let's talk about Poop. And by Poop, I mean Poop Slinger for the PS4. The most modern game on this list that's still rare. Can't imagine why. Anyway, Poop Slinger. Yeah, you know what? I hate saying the name. I'm just calling it the game from now on. Anyway, the game allowed you, the user, to fling poop. This particular game was available for download on the PlayStation and Steam store. In fact, it still is available for download. So why is it so rare? Well, the physical copies, which have a fascinating and slightly horrifying story. The game was developed by Diggity.net, a small developer that is still in existence today, with 6 games available for download. In 2018, when Poop Slinger, damn it, I said it anyway. When the game was released, Diggity.net was contacted by Limited Rare Games with an offer to print 1,000 physical copies of the game. Diggity agreed, and apparently, Limited Rare Games took out a bank loan to print copies of the game. The game went on sale, but according to published reports, the website looked like a scam. It had large chunks in Russian, it was, quote, laughably bare-boned, and increased the price during the first day that the game went on sale, going from $33.99 to $50. The company claimed that all copies of the game had to be sold by April 1st, or they would go bankrupt. Obviously, all copies of the game weren't sold, and limited rare games apparently went out of business. However, the game did sell 84 physical copies, making it the rarest PS4 game available today. Multiple copies of the game are on sale on eBay, ranging from $4,999 to $15,733. And I never want to talk about poop again, unless I'm talking to my doctor. Alright, I want to go back to another game that was used for special purposes, the Nintendo Campus Challenge. In 1992, Nintendo was looking to promote their system among an older demographic, college kids. So, they made the Nintendo Campus Challenge and followed college kids to campuses or spring break locations. In total, 60 locations were used. Students had 6 minutes to rack up high scores on games like Super Mario Bros. 3, Pinbot, and Dr. Mario. Their total score was then calculated, and finalists in the contest received an all-expense-paid trip to the 1992 Nintendo World Championship, as well as prizes like cash scholarships or cars. As you probably understand, this game was never sold commercially. As such, most copies were destroyed, but a few survived. In fact, it's possible that there is only one copy available today. That copy was purchased by collector Rob Walters at a garage sale. Walters sold it to collector J.J. Hendricks for $14,000. Hendricks then turned around and sold it for $20,100 on eBay. Next, let's talk Moses.
Let my people go!
No. Not him. Him. This is Red Sea Crossing, an ultra-rare game that was believed to have no more than a few hundred copies made. In this Christian-themed game, you play as Moses. You part the Red Sea, dodge obstacles including clams and seaweed, and avoid the pursuing Egyptians. If you win, you are awarded stone tablets, just like in the real Bible. Anyway, this game was developed by Steve Shustak. As with other games on this list, this game was not officially sanctioned by Atari. Instead, Shustak programmed the game himself and sold it by using a magazine advertisement. It also shipped with a coloring book and an audio cassette tape that explained how the game worked. So, this game was largely lost to history until 2007, when a copy appeared at a garage sale in Cincinnati. It took 4 years of digging, but eventually, researchers found a copy of the advertisement from the game in 1983, verifying its authenticity. A second copy of the game was found shortly thereafter. The first copy was auctioned in 2011 for $10,400. A year later, the second game was sold for $13,877. Next, I want to move over to the Super Nintendo system and talk about Mountain Bike Rally and Speed Racer. This game starts as a relative rarity, as it's 2 games in one, Mountain Bike Rally and Speed Racer. So, what makes the game so rare? This thing, the Exertainment Bike. It allowed you to play Nintendo games through a bicycle. As the name implies, you could use it for both Mountain Bike Rally and Speed Racer. Shockingly, this game was not a commercial hit. And I say shockingly dripping with sarcasm because this looks like every bad idea combined in the world. A bad exercise bike and weird video game equipment. It was yet another in a series of peripherals that was well ahead of its time. That's another video for later. Neither game sold well, and both would eventually be sold separately. The 1995 Excitainment system was relatively short-lived and has become a collector's item in and of itself. However, the combined game, Mountain Bike Rally and Speed Racer, is a true rarity. The game was actually sold with the bike, and you couldn't get it any other way, thus making the game even more of a collector's item. Copies of the game go for between $2,800 and $14,000. Next, another modern game, NBA Elite 2011. Electronic Arts has been a leader in sports games for decades, and before they were driving everyone out of their mind with their obsession with microtransactions, the company was known, and I guess still is known, for making high-quality sports games. Since 1994, EA Sports has used NBA Live for their NBA games. They refreshed the brand in 2011 with NBA Elite, thus leading the production of NBA Elite 2011. The game was produced, copies were created, and demos were released. The game created new controls, a new physics system, and a player creation mode known as Become Legendary. The demo was formally released in September 2010, and that's when things went bad. Really bad. The game was buggy, it led to this amazing Jesus Bynum glitch, had dumb AI, and controls that were apparently stunningly counterintuitive. In short, players hated the game. The game was delayed and eventually canceled. However, copies of the game were still out there, and some stores did sell them. As a result, you can buy a physical copy of NBA Elite 2011 if you've got about 10 grand to cough up. Less expensively, you can also download a digital copy at various websites. So, how rare is this last game? There's believed to only be one surviving copy. Meet Gamma Attack, a 1983 game for the Atari 2600. Gamma Attack was produced by Gamation, an Ohio-based studio that collapsed shortly after the game was released. The game concept is simple enough. You were a flying saucer that could fly around the screen and were meant to shoot as many tanks as possible while also avoiding crashing into the ground. So, why is there only one copy? Well, Gamation's collapse shortly after the release of the game apparently put big cramp into the efforts to sell it. Like, cramp as in the company thinks only 20 copies of the game were sold, an astonishingly low number. If that's really the case, the fact that any copy survived at all is nothing less than a miracle. The sole surviving copy of the game is owned by Anthony DiNardo, a video game collector who tried to sell the game in 2008 for $500,000. Thankfully, it didn't hit that price, which helped restore my faith in humanity. Still, the game is believed to be worth somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000. Now, let me answer one more important question before we go. What is the most expensive video game transaction of all time? It's nothing on this list. The answer is an original version of Super Mario Bros., still in its original packaging, made in 1985. The price? $2 million. Purchased by an anonymous collector. Damn.